Welcome to today's Explainer. So look, we are going to dive into a story today that will completely, fundamentally shatter your entire concept of human limitation. Seriously, we're looking at a narrative of just immense awe, one that totally redefines the sheer power of human willpower. Because what we're about to unpack together, well, it's nothing short of miraculous.
49. I want you to just sit with that number for a second. That is the terrifying number of massive trains that violently roared past a critically injured 26-year-old woman named Arunima Sinha. She lay there, entirely helpless, bleeding out on the railway tracks for 7 agonizing hours, all through the night.
Which, of course, brings us to the ultimate question, right? How exactly do you go from fighting for your very life on a dirty, freezing railway track, just completely broken, to standing, quite literally, on top of the world? Let's trace this unbelievable hero's journey together.
Part 1. The darkest night, a fight for survival.
The visceral, gritty reality of her 2011 accident is almost impossible to wrap your head around. Arunima, who was actually a national volleyball champion at the time, was traveling on a train when a group of robbers tried to snatch her gold chain. When she boldly fought back, they literally threw her out of the moving train. Tragically, she crashed right into another train passing on the adjacent track and fell. That second train completely amputated her left leg. And as she lay there all night, totally unable to move, rats actually began chewing on her fresh wounds. Can you even imagine? And yet her mind remained entirely conscious through the whole ordeal. By the morning, local villagers finally brought her to the Bareilly District Hospital. Now here's the kicker. The hospital had no anesthesia and no blood. To save her life, the doctor and the pharmacist actually donated their own blood right then and there, and they had to amputate her crushed leg while she was fully awake. She felt every single agonizing cut.
Moving on to Part 2, a monumental decision, defying the odds.
So while she was recovering at Ames Hospital over in Delhi, Arunima started reading the daily newspapers. And the media, well, they had spun these incredibly twisted, pity-filled stories. They were claiming she didn't have a ticket and jumped off the train to avoid getting caught, or that her family had rejected her and she was attempting suicide. Society looked at a girl with an amputated leg and a fractured spine and saw nothing but a helpless handicap. But Arunima, actually scratch that. She didn't just want to walk again. From that very hospital bed, feeling all that societal rejection, she made an unbreakable vow to herself. She decided she was going to climb Mount Everest. No way was she going to be a victim.
Now, obviously, everyone around her thought she had completely lost her mind. But she found exactly one person outside her family who truly believed in her, Bachendri Pal, the incredible first Indian woman to ever summit Everest. Bachendri looked at her and said that by merely having the sheer audacity to dream of Everest in her broken physical state, she had already conquered the mountain in her mind. The actual physical climb, that was just a formality to prove it to the rest of the world.
And guys, the timeline of what happens next is just staggering. April 11, 2011, she loses her leg. Fast forward just 4 months later, with her right leg still bearing fresh stitches and a brand new prosthetic on her left, she's already out of the hospital and beginning her mountaineering training. And by May 21st, 2013, she's standing on the summit. To put that into perspective, we are talking about a shockingly short 2-year span to go from a devastating, life-altering amputation to summiting the absolute highest peak on planet Earth.
Let's look at Part 3, the brutal climb, blood, ice, and willpower.
When she first arrived at the mountain for her initial training, a simple walk from the roadhead to the base camp, something that normally took able-bodied climbers maybe 2 minutes, took Arunima 3 grueling hours. Her right leg's bones hadn't fully healed yet, and her left stump was still raw and red. Every forceful step she took made her bleed. It was brutal. Yet, she vowed to herself right then and there that she would eventually outpace the normal climbers. And you know what? Within 8 months, carrying all of her own weight, she did exactly that.
But look, Everest is totally unforgiving. It's a whole different beast. She faced the terrifying blue and green ice. Her artificial leg would just spin uncontrollably on the slick surface, which forced her to painfully kick holes deep into the ice just to inch forward. But honestly, the psychological toll was way worse. As she pushed from Camp 4 towards the South Col in the pitch dark, her headlamp illuminated a horrifying reality: dead bodies. She even witnessed a fellow climber taking his final gasping breaths right on the very rope she was using to climb. She literally had to step over the fallen to continue her ascent. It's like a nightmare come to life.
And the suspense only escalated the higher she climbed. Just past the notorious Hillary Step, mere moments away from her ultimate goal, Her Sherpa delivered a crushing blow. He told her, "Arunima, turn back. Your oxygen is running out." I mean, imagine being so incredibly close, fighting through so much trauma, only to be told you have to turn around right now or you'll die. But Arunima absolutely refused. She knew deep down she would never get the sponsorship or the sheer chance to do this whole shebang ever again. Bringing us to part 4, Summit and Survival 8,848 meters high.
At 10:55 a.m. on May 21st, 2013, she actually achieved the impossible. She reached the top of the world. She hugged her national flag, completely and utterly overjoyed. But what she did next really shows the immense depth of her passion. She actually forced her panicked Sherpa to take out a camera and record a video of her. See, she was fully mentally prepared to die on that mountain, but she insisted on getting that video because she desperately wanted her message of resilience to reach the youth back home. Talk about dedication. And honestly, that preparation for death, it wasn't just dramatic flair. On her descent, which, by the way, is where most fatalities on Everest actually occur, her oxygen completely ran out, gone. She collapsed right into the snow, totally unable to stand, completely drained of all strength.
Her Sherpa delivered this desperate plea. "I want you to return alive. Come, stand up." And in what can only be described as a literal miracle, right at that very moment, a British climber heading down in the bad weather decided to discard his extra full oxygen cylinder. Her Sherpa quickly scrambled and secured it to her. That single discarded cylinder literally saved her life.
But of course, she wasn't out of the woods yet. As they descended, the temperature plummeted to a bone-chilling minus 60 degrees Celsius. Her hand lost all movement, started bleeding, and turned ominously red. Having already lost one limb, the terrifying medical reality that she might now lose a hand to frostbite began to set in. It was a race against time.
And then the absolute ultimate nightmare scenario happened. As she was quickly pushing her heels into the ice to get down safely, her entire prosthetic leg came off. Yep, she was high up on Mount Everest, freezing, bleeding, and now entirely missing a leg. But crying wasn't going to help her here. So she grabbed the rope with one hand, grabbed her detached artificial leg with the other, and began to physically drag herself down the mountain through the ice until they finally found a rock where they could sit and fix it. Now, a typical climber takes about 15 to 16 hours to summit and return to camp. Arunima endured 28 grueling hours in the death zone. When she finally opened the zip of her tent back at camp, everyone inside was just in absolute shock. Every single person on the mountain had assumed she was dead. Surprise, she made it. And finally, part 5, the ultimate lesson, mind over matter. You know, we so often define a handicap purely in physical terms, right? Like missing a limb or a bodily function. But Arunima passionately argues that true handicap is mental. You are only truly handicapped if you are defeated in your own mind. If your inner self is awakened to a goal, a physical limitation is really just a logistical hurdle to jump over. It's not a dead-end roadblock. A lot of people later told her she was lucky to find that discarded oxygen cylinder. But her response to that? Luck favors those who have the passion to win. She firmly believes that if you don't have this unrelenting, almost maddening passion to succeed, you are only going to find a mountain of excuses in all directions. She didn't let the lack of a leg be an excuse for a second, and she fully believes her sheer passion carved her path through that ice, not just fate. And the craziest part, she's far from finished. Despite conquering the highest peaks in Asia, Africa, and Europe, she still considers herself a bird yet to be truly tested. The entire sky is remaining, she says. It's just a gorgeous reminder that the summit of one mountain is really just the bottom of the next. Which leaves us with this lingering, provocative thought for you to take away today. We've seen exactly what kinds of physical and mental mountains Arunima Sinha conquered, but looking closely at your own life, your own limitations, and maybe your own excuses. So what is the Everest you need to conquer in your own mind? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I truly hope this incredible story fuels your own climb.